I'm Lucy Taylor, and I'm the coordinator of the Community Land Advisory Service, which is a programme managed by Social Farms and Gardens. And for the last few years, we've been operating an award scheme to acknowledge the good work and hard work of volunteers who managed to gain access to land for their community green space projects of all different types: community food growing, woodlands, biodiversity. I think quite a lot of the projects this year are community food growing sort of orientated projects. And this year, the awards are going online, virtual, for the first time. We haven't actually had an awards ceremony for the last 2 years. We've just used social media because of the pandemic. Yes, we had an idea quite early on that we would like the projects to show themselves off a bit by having some film that would bring them to life a little bit. Being an area I know very little about, we thought about trying to find a company that might help us and help the groups do that. And Katie Trent, my colleague who's also online, introduced us to Tape, who are a company that she's worked with for before. So we've been speaking behind the scenes with Neil at Tape, and he has agreed with his colleagues to help us get the best out of our film work by providing us with a bit of a workshop now for the next hour. We may go into some breakout rooms as well and just have some one-on-one advice or questions if that's what you want. Tape are going to be then, once we upload all the videos and films, they will then edit it all and make it all flow quite nicely, hopefully, during the actual awards ceremony on the 16th of March. So I'm really pleased that you guys are able to join us, and it is being recorded, so people who aren't able to come will have an opportunity to view the main room activities and speeches and PowerPoint slides at another opportunity. So that might be something you want to pass on to your colleagues and other volunteers. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Neil now. It's enough of my ramble, and let's get into the interesting stuff.
Okay, Neil. Thank you, Lucy. Cheers. So yeah, my name's Neil from Tape Community Music and Film. We're based over in Old Colwyn. We're a creative arts and media charity who are in our 14th year. 14th year. Yes, and I'm joined today, Steve, who's the co-founder and creative director here, and Curtis, I'm not sure if I'm pointing at the right screen, it is on my screen, but yeah, Curtis, who's one of our filmmakers here, is going to be working on the edit, receiving your footage coming in, and yeah, putting that together. So has everyone received the draft outline of what the content is going to look like and had a chance to have a look at that? What sort of things Lucy and co are looking for? I think probably a good starting point before we get going too far into anything is to ask about you guys and your experience of filmmaking, if you've had any experience of filmmaking, and then we'll have a good idea of where to pitch some of what we're about to present. Is everyone happy to be put on the spot slightly if I just pick out people in order and ask? So Judith, are you happy to go first and say a little bit?
Not much to say. I have zero experience of filmmaking.
Okay, and which project are you working on, Judith?
I'm at Garth Francon and Bethesda, a new community garden that we established last year, and which is very much still in its early stages.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Ralph, you're next on my screen.
Yes, a little experience of filmmaking for funding, working with schools on very low budget productions. So, yeah.
And what
I
sort of, oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, go on.
What sort of kit were you using for that? Is that just shooting on a mobile device or?
Yeah, it can be, or have used cameras, basic cameras as well before.
And have you got access to those still?
No, no.
Okay. So it's likely to be on a mobile device, the stuff that you're shooting.
Would think so.
And Judith, is that the same for you? Would that be shooting on a mobile phone, the footage?
I would think so. Yes, I've got a colleague who's a photographer, but but he's photography more than film. But that's his personal kit. So I guess I'll be doing it from my old mobile phone.
Okay, grand. Thank you. Lisa, are you part of one of the projects as well? Or?
No, I work with Lucy at Social Farms and Gardens on the CLAS project, but I am dealing with one of the groups that are in the awards. They couldn't make it tonight, but they are keen to see the recording because she had another appointment. She's already sent me in a couple of attempts at filming, which were really good, but they were really long and they were in portrait rather than landscape. So we're not sure if they can be used, but we've got those already. But I'm sure she'll have another go. She's very willing and able to do it. And again, she'll be using a mobile for that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that we can work with portrait. If it's already shot, it's worth sending over. But ideally, landscape is what we need for the shot. So I know a few bits have come in with a bit of both. And I guess we can work with small sections of that, but it won't take up very much of your screen. You know, it'll sit in the center of the screen and be, and have to have some sort of border around it.
With cropping as well, because we're having to do a portrait from landscape, because what we're going to be doing in the edit is making sure everything's landscape. So if we do end up getting portrait videos back, it's going to be a case of having to chop up. So you're only seeing like this person's face. So it's a good idea that if it is possible, if they could get landscape, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Tegan, are you okay to let us know a little bit about your experience filming? Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't really got much experience. I'm just started working with Ralph, so I haven't got much experience.
Okay, and which project are you working on? Which project are you working on?
I can't think what it's called. I'm working with Ralph. I can't think what it's called.
Pentrev Teleri. Yes,
okay.
So it's the community growing space adjacent to Cafe Teleri and Cum Teleri.
Okay, great. Thank you. Cheers, Tegan. So that would be using a mobile device as well. So we're pretty much all mobile devices so far. That's all right. That makes it a little easier. Going through bits, uniform.
Level playing field.
Yes, exactly. Martin. Oh, hi.
Hello, it's Nina actually, and I don't know how to change that.
Okay, no worries. Hi, Nina.
I'll put the light on.
So we are Kilgarran Fruit and Nut. Now, I don't know what happened. We kind of panicked, I think, and thought we were out of time, that the deadline was sooner. And we had a guy come, Mark Pell, and he took some footage.
Oh, okay, you got some footage.
Yeah, so I don't know who's going to, if he's supposed to edit it or if it then gets passed on to you. I really don't know what's going on there.
Okay, yeah, so I can answer that.
He was working for a day. He shot film, mostly people just talking to camera. So there might be a lot you'll have to get rid of. And there wasn't so much of the actual garden, but we've supplied lots of photographs of the stills of the garden in progress. So it needs to be knitted together. So I don't know if you'll be doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll be doing.
Oh,
so we've got a portal, so an online using WeTransfer. There's an email and stuff that we'll send out, so you can send the footage via WeTransfer, online.
What?
I did put that in the chat, but I put it in before folks came into the room. So if you can click on the chat, if you can see the WeTransfer link and the email on there. If you can't, I'll post it again.
Chat. What, just a minute, what's chat? I mean, as far as experience of filmmaking, I have zero, but it would be nice to be able to do
Okay.
Little local things.
Fine. Okay, well, this will be useful then for, yeah.
I think Mark has tried to send me something on WeTransfer. The first lot he sent, I couldn't open. So he sent me another MP4 file. So I'm just catching up on some emails because I wasn't in on Friday. So I've seen he sent something again. So I'll have a look at that either after this or in the morning.
Okay. Okay, right.
Great. No, that's ace. Thank you, Nina. That's so yeah, well, you've touched on something there as well in terms of you know, you're saying Mark came along and most of it was interviews and things, but assuming there are some people who've got photos of their gardens throughout the year and maybe in some times when they were a little more vibrant than they might be at the moment. So getting those photos and stuff together would be really helpful as well. If you want to send those over, because we can include photos in the cuts as well, and that will be incorporated in something which we have titled B-roll, which is essentially things that we can cut away to when the speech is going on screen. Can I just double check? Can everyone see the links at the top of the chat that say the link to WeTransfer and Curtis's email for sending that over?
I can't see it.
You can't.
No,
they're not in there.
They're not in there. Okay, yeah. I think it only goes to you if you're in the room at the time. So I will repost those. Doing that now.
And just to save people who are watching on record, we will forward those links via email.
There we go. Cool. Okay, so you've had the sheet. So obviously some of you, Nina and Co, you're obviously a lot further ahead in terms of getting the most of the filming done. But for other folks here who might not have started out yet on that stuff, and we're going to be working on a mobile device. We've already touched on one of the key things with using a mobile device, which is to try to keep it landscape. So holding it up that way around rather than that way around. So that is the correct way that we're going to need the footage, if that's possible, please.
Does it matter whether it's full or, you always have the choice 4:3 or full size, or is that?
If you can, if it's possible, if you could pick 16:9, that would be the most ideal one that you could get on the phone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. And then in terms of the types of shot and things, we've got Curtis has prepared some footage over the weekend, which we'd like to show to give you an idea of the sorts of ways of setting up a shot and how to capture some of the interview footage and how to capture some of the stuff that would be incorporated in B-roll. So that's any footage that isn't interviews with people, just shots of the space in the garden or the like. So I'm going to hand over to Curtis to go through that, and I'm going to operate the video for that and try and share screen with you. And then we're going to come out of the back of that and I'll talk a little bit about sound. And then we can maybe talk about some of your individual projects and how we might best capture those. And when we start that conversation, we can either go into breakout rooms and discuss those so we can get any individual concerns addressed. But we maybe start off as a group, because obviously it might be useful. Everyone's concerns might be useful for the people that are watching on playback as well. Right, so I'll share screen quickly. He says it was there. Share screen. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Has everyone got that okay?
Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. Can everyone see it? Right.
Cool. I'll take us away then. Right, so what I've prepared over the weekend essentially is just this little, very simple shot guide for you guys to all have a look over in case you want an idea of what kind of shots you can get and what you can fill the content with. So if you mind hitting play, please, Neil. So the first shot, and what's going to be the most essential shot to your entire thing, is the establishing shot. What an establishing, oh, yeah, sorry, do you want to go in the back a little bit, Neil, to where it's at the establishing shot, sorry. Thank you, cool. So the establishing shot is essentially going to be the first shot of your little short film. And it's the most important shot because it's going to be establishing the actual location that it's going to be filmed in, as well as the mood that you guys are going to be filmed in. So as you can see here, this was outside this little garden in my village, and you can see there's some sun shining through, and with that shot you can kind of tell it's going to be a nice, bright, cheerful kind of short film that you're going to be watching. So it's very essential that when you have this establishing shot, it gets the location as well as the mood when you're actually shooting it. Right, go ahead. Now, when it comes to the actual interviews themselves, there's going to be quite a few different shots that you can get to actually capture people talking. The first one, and the most obvious one, is a close-up. What a close-up does is basically just going to make everyone focus in on what the person's saying because it's so close up to them they can't focus on anything else. So if you want them to just really focus in on what's going on with the interviewee and what they're saying, it's really important. Just get a close-up so we can really hear what they're saying, especially with your mobile phones as well, because I assume not many of you are going to be using microphones. If you go a little bit too far away with a mobile phone, it won't capture the audio as well as if that you are a little bit closer with it. So I would recommend, if you're doing the interviews, definitely get someone a little bit close up, okay? So go to the next one, please, Neil. And then essentially, same again, the shot after this is a medium shot. So if you're wanting to get a little bit more of the background in so people have a better idea of where they are and in relation to like the interviewer and stuff, it's a good idea to get a medium shot so that people can understand what's going on behind them and see activities and other things that might be going on behind them, such as other gardeners or people planting plants, that kind of thing. Just go to the next shot, please. And the wide shot, again, it's essentially kind of the same as a medium shot, but it's just a lot bigger. It's going to be getting in a lot more information than the medium shot was. And it's going to pull away the attention a little bit from the interviewee, though. So if you're wanting to just focus on the interviewer who's conducting it, you want to make sure that they are just center frame and they know exactly what's going on. Otherwise, if you do this wide shot, people can be focusing a little bit too much on what's going on in the background. So it's a good idea, get a little bit closer if you're wanting to just focus on the interviewee. Otherwise, you can go a little bit further out and go to the wide shot. All right, next shot. So this is going to be a landscape shot, pretty simple. It's a good idea to use landscape shots for your establishing shots. It's essentially just one big shot that's capturing everything that everyone can see around them, okay? It's very simple and straightforward. Just capture a big old shot of everything around you, and you can use that for your establishing shot if you want, or for some of the B-roll as well. Next one. So the next three you're going to see, so there's the low angle here, and if you just keep going for a moment, please, Neil. A high angle here, and then the next one after this will be a profile shot. These are essentially just different angles that you can take it from. All an angle really is just that you're picking up the camera, you're moving it to a separate location of where you just filmed, still staying on the subject, and you're just going from another angle essentially. So it's a good idea if you're taking an interview of someone, if it's getting a little bit too long and you feel like, oh, it's not going to be very visually engaging, just having this one shot on this one person, not doing anything for a while. It might be a good idea just to pick up your phone, go around to like left or right, get them to look at you, just so you can get a separate angle, just to make it a little bit more visually engaging. So it's a good idea just to think about angles when you're actually trying to get the interviews. Next one, please. So this next one's going to be about the different kind of movements you can all do when you're actually doing it. So zooming in and zooming out will just help focus the subject. So if you're wanting to get, say, a shot of, as you can see here, get a shot of these lovely statues, you basically want to zoom in on them, and then it will mean that the audience will focus in on just that one area there. Same also applies if you're zooming out as well. So say you've zoomed all the way in and you're starting to zoom out from that statue there, because that's the original focal point. It'll mean that as it zooms out, people are going to focus on that point, even though there's a lot going on around them. So basically, it's a good idea to use a zoom in, zoom out if you really want someone to focus in on a single little detail. All right, next, please. Now, a panning shot, the way this works is very simple. You either move the camera from one position left to right, or you go from right to left. And the way the good use of this is that, say you've got like some really nice landscape, or like someone's planting some really nice roses, and you want to be able to get that in and then move over to the person doing the interview. You can do that. If you get a panning shot, say there's some bushes there, you can move from the left to the right, and then you land on that person. So it just kind of gives a little more interest to the actual shot, instead of just being flat on one person and then flat on another. And again, exactly the same. A tilt shot is just like a panning shot, but instead of going left to right, you're going up and down, and then down and up as well. So again, it's exactly the same as the panning shot. You just want to think about it in a way just to give your pieces a little bit more visual interest, so keep it a little bit more engaging for the audience. Same thing applies to pulling focus here as well. If you just hit play for us, please, Neil. The way this will work is going to be a little bit different for you on your mobile phone, which I'll go into in just a moment. But pull and focus, again, is just a way to keep it a little bit more visually engaging. The way you do this on your mobile is if you go into your settings on your phone, there's a pro mode, well, on most mobile phones, that you should be able to select. And there's a little thing that says AF on it. If you select the AF, which means autofocus, you can change it to manual focus. With that, it should give you a little bar that you can manually focus in and out of. It's down to you whether or not you want to do the pull focus. It's, oh, sorry, screen just went black for a second. Yeah, so so it's down to you if you want to do the pull and focus or not, because I know a lot of people are using their mobile phones. But if you do end up wanting to do that, just go into your pro settings, turn off the autofocus, and you should be able to get a little bar that will allow you to manual focus. Now, this shot right here, so something very visually engaging. You want to have a tracking shot every now and again. The way it works is very simple. You go from behind, in front, or left to right of whoever your subject is, and you just want to follow them as they're walking. It's a good idea to say, like, if they're talking about, Judith's, like, you know, flowers over there or something like that, for example, or Neil's blossoms over there or something. We can follow them as they're talking and walking, so we can actually see what they're talking about as they're going along. So it's a good idea to use a tracking shot if you would just want to give it a little more extra oomph. And then next one, please. Now, the B-roll is essentially just going to be little extra bits that you're going to be filming around the day. It's a good idea to use the shots that I've mentioned previously, just kind of mix and match them into all kind of different things to basically include into the B-roll. What we'll be using this for is cutaways, essentially. So if someone's speaking about strawberries, we would like to be able to get some cutaways of some strawberries. So if you get some B-roll of some strawberries or whatever anyone else is talking about, it will help us out on the edit quite a lot, because we'll be able to then go through it, mix and match all these different shots that you've got on the B-roll, and it will come together really nicely in the end. And I believe that is it.
Wow. That was quite a lot of information to take in. I hope everyone, no, it's good. Thank you, Curtis. That's grand. Shall we, obviously, a chunk of that, we've covered some bits there and ideas around interview, and obviously you'll have a recording of this so you can go back and have another look. We're not expecting stuff to come back in you know, all of those things to come back in. It's just, I guess, to give you a bit of a menu of things to choose from and ways to approach your filmmaking. Does anyone have any questions before we start to talk about sound, specifically on anything from Curtis's presentation?
Neil,
yes, maybe.
Yeah. Who's that? I didn't see who it was. Sorry.
I guess Judith.
Judith. Yeah.
Sorry,
I'll speak after.
I mean, this was lots of things together. Do you expect us to do it all in one long shot, or can we send you 17 snippets that only each last a few seconds?
It's a lot better to do snippets. So once you've filmed what you want to film, if you just stop filming at that point, and then you can just start a new video, it's a lot easier for us that way, so we're not having to cut out as much. So yeah, snippets would be the best thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think just thinking about that with sending snippets in, which is, yeah, exactly right. And especially with the interviews and things as well, is to make sure that you're recording before you do whatever the movement is, or before the person starts to speak. So make sure that the camera is rolling on your phone, and then you can give them a counting, you know, like when you see on, if you've ever seen any of the sort of behind the scenes kind of when they're in TV studios and they're doing the countdown and then them pointing at you to go. That's why they're doing it. So there's some lead in. So when it comes to the editors, they've got some time to make cuts and bring things in and out. And then the same at the end. So if someone finishes speaking, just keep the camera rolling for another 3 seconds or so. So we capture that at the end as well. And we've got a bit of space to fade out into the next shot or move between.
Yeah.
Yes, good shout.
Yeah, I sent some film over to Neil earlier of some film I took on Friday when I was at a group, and I was trying to edit it myself to make the snippets a little bit easier for them to use. And actually, Neil just said, do you want to just send us the whole lot? Because we do need that bit before they start speaking, and the bit at the end, I'd cut too much off. And it was just as they start to speak, and that was making it a bit more tricky for Neil to deal with. The other thing I was going to ask as well, when we're talking about all these snippets and mobile phone footage, if you're having problems getting stuff onto WeTransfer from your mobile phone, do let me know, because I downloaded something onto my phone that actually allowed me to access WeTransfer on my phone. And it may be that if you're having problems, we can use that. So just let us know if you're having problems getting the footage from your phone onto WeTransfer.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, that's grand. Okay, yeah, so I guess we're, there's, like I was saying before, there's just some example shots there that you can kind of go and choose from, and you can do as little or as much as you feel confident with. I think the main idea is that we get an idea of the sort of personality of your project, and we get some of that over. So it's not a direct filmmaking exercise as such. It's kind of about you capturing that. I guess the key things are that we get the information across, and we get enough footage together to bring that together. So if that's an interview, one of the key bits about that is making sure that the sound is clear, because that will, if we record footage of an interview and it goes really well and we get to the end and get the footage back and the sound there's problems with the sound for whatever issue, it's very hard to rectify that. So I just wanted to run through a few little bits about recording with, and particularly focusing on sound. And it's nothing to be scared of in any way, shape or form, but if everyone's using phones to record here, then there's a few sort of easy things that you can do to just ensure that the sound quality is higher than it might otherwise be. And the first one is headphones. If you've got a mobile phone, they've all pretty much all got headphone ports in them. Wear some headphones when you're videoing, and then you can hear exactly what's being recorded onto the phone. In video mode, they normally just send you the audio from the microphone through to your headphones. And one of the key things that might get picked up with that, especially given what we're recording in gardens and things, and at this time of year, is likely to be some wind noise. So quite often you'll get the wind going across the microphone. And given how we're recording and what we're doing, you might just need to change direction, move around a bit until you've lost the bulk of that wind noise. Cupping your hand over the side where they're not covering the microphone, but cupping your hand over where the microphone sits in the phone and things might help with that. It's a trial and error really on the day that you go to shoot, but you won't, if you haven't got headphones on, you won't hear that, so you won't know that it's happening. So yeah, definitely wear headphones and look out for wind noise.
I'd say to test it as well. Like I just did like a whole interview for like 10 minutes, and then I thought, oh God, I hope the sound's okay. And luckily it was all right. But actually, you could just do a little test, couldn't you, for like 10 seconds, and then you play it back so you can see what the sound level is like.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Yeah, if you're not got any metering, just play it back. And quite often phones have got auto metering in them, so they'll kind of compress the sound to stop it from peaking, but it won't get rid of wind noise or or it won't help if it's too quiet. So with the thinking about the proximity when you're filming, particularly interviews, if you're taking the sound off your phone, you want to be pretty close. So you want to be as close as you can get for those interviews, and then maybe be thinking about some of those B-roll shots to kind of take away from the shot with the person that you're interviewing. Ideally, you'd want to be using an external microphone so you could have that as close as you can get to the person that you're recording. If you've got two phones, if you've got someone else there with a phone, you can use voice notes on there, and you could literally set that up to record the person, so you can have a track of sound, of audio to go with it. But you would need to mark that in some way, and we normally do that with a clap, so you can hear it on both devices. Assuming you're going to be using one phone, I would just get as close as you can without it being uncomfortable for the person you're interviewing, with the shot framed as you would like. But there are some options there if you want to kind of take things another step further. Okay, so we covered having headphones on, doing a sound test, looking out for wind noise, and then proximity to the person that you're recording. And the other thing is, if there's something that happens with the sound while you're recording, so if you've got your headphones on and you hear something, it's totally fine to ask people to say something again. So if you get a bit and there's a massive gust of wind and you think, oh, well, that's that, there's a big gust of wind over that section, it's totally fine to say, okay, sorry, can we just repeat that bit and keep that in the clip, because we can edit that out and just come back, cut to a bit of B-roll and come back to them with that comment without the wind noise on it and stuff. It's really important to, you're taking on cameraman, camera person, sound person, and director all in one role, really. So you kind of, it's quite a big ask, but having the ability to just stop an interview and say, actually, can you repeat that bit if it hasn't come out for whatever reason with sound is totally fine, and just keep rolling, because we can make those edits at this end. Okay, any questions on the sound side of things at this point?
I would say, in addition to that as well, is to ask people to be aware of who's in the background talking, because you could pick up kind of residual conversations that you might not notice when you're recording, but when you play it back, it's actually quite distracting. So look out for that as well, especially if you're filming inside.
Absolutely, yeah. No, really good shout. And any external noise that's going on. So if you're filming and you're in a garden by a road, try and choose a place that's facing away from the road, and as far away from the road as you can get if it's a noisy road. I'm trying to think of things that have interfered with sound recording before. Animals, quite often you'll get a dog barking somewhere or something along those lines, or which is, if it's in the background and it's got some context, it's totally fine. I think one of the things that's quite distracting for people, if they're watching something, if they can see you're in a garden and there's some gardening noise going on in the background, it's totally fine. If you've not shown them that you're, I don't know, by the end of a runway and all of a sudden you can hear a plane taking off right next to you and you're watching it, but you've got no idea you're right next to a runway, it's just going to sound like someone's sort of put the sound of a 737 taking off over your video in a very strange way with no...
Yes. I had a plane going over one of my bits on Friday, but I think it's just a bit that can probably be used for B-roll or something, so it's not too bad. But it was really obvious when I played it back, and I didn't think it mattered that much. But if somebody's trying to speak, it would have made a big difference. Yeah.
Okay.
You just reminded me of my wedding video where we were actually at the end of a runway, and during the ceremony you could hear 3 planes going over, and the registrar had to stop talking completely while everyone waited for the planes to go over. It's quite funny when you listen to it back, actually.
Nice. Yeah, all right. Okay, so any other questions on the sound side of things, or should we start to look at people's specific projects and maybe start to talk about what, hopefully, having watched that and heard that, you've had some kind of ideas on how you might go about capturing your projects, and maybe we can talk through some of those ideas.
Can I add something to the sound conversation as well?
Yes,
please?
You can.
We're filming on, most people are going to be filming on mobile phones, and also most people will have mobile phones, so you need to ask people to switch them off. Not even on airplane, switch them off, because you can get the roaming signal interference. So all phones switched off on set is a really good thing to do. especially if you're halfway through a really good take and then someone's phone rings, or you're filming and your phone rings. So yeah, that's a really, really good thing to do. And rehearse as well, give people a chance to practice so they feel comfortable and know what they're going to say. If they need to write something down or some notes that someone could hold under the camera, all those sorts of things can be really helpful for your subject to just relax a little bit more and feel like they're not going to mess up, because most people are going to feel quite nervous, I think, if they've not done this before.
I remember when we were at the Royal Welsh Show a couple of years ago, and ITV wanted to do some filming and interview me, and the amount of rehearsal that they did before, like we must have like gone through the interview like 10 times before they actually did the filming, and I thought it was all a bit of a waste of time, but it makes a massive difference. So that's how they learn it, I think, isn't it? They just repeat it when they're on, and then when they're on camera it sounds so much better.
Yeah, because you're thinking about it, trying to work out what you're going to say and think, what am I saying next, what am I saying next? But if you've rehearsed it and it feels, then it comes, you know, it just you're used to saying it, and you're not making things up on the spot. Yeah, a bit of rehearsal, and rehearsing, asking the questions as well is a really good idea, just to get everyone feeling comfortable. I don't think we can hear Neil. Can't hear you, mate.
Sorry. So I was just talking about sound, so I thought I was just illustrating keeping a remember to unmute as well. No, I wasn't. I'd just forgotten to hit the mute button on the mic. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Stop it. Yeah, I was just saying, thinking about making people feel relaxed and giving people a chance to rehearse as well. The idea of quite often there's a temptation to write things down and read them off a sheet, and I think maybe having sort of cues and rehearsing, and the idea that you can do multiple takes on things is the better way to do it, because quite often you can really tell if someone's reading off a sheet. So having some idea of what you're going to talk about, and that rehearsal time that Steve's spoken about is absolutely key in it, especially moving away from kind of reading off a sheet. I think cue cards are fine, or having something if you want something to just remind you what it is you want to be talking about, but not, you can really tell if someone's reading something word for word off a sheet rather than but then that's kind of, again, rehearsing the interview questions and being more conversational. It's about the personalities of the folks involved and the personalities of projects as well.
Very true. And something that is key to all of that is giving yourselves enough time to do all of these things, not feeling like you're rushing through it, having lots of time so you're not watching the clock, and then so people feel more relaxed and comfortable with what they're doing. Set lots of time aside for it.
Cool. Okay. Is there anyone who wants to sort of start things off, saying if they've had any thoughts on their own film and how they might capture it, or any questions based on any of the bits we've just spoken about? No. We can do.
Yes.
Go on. Yes.
I've been having trouble getting people to my site recently. So if I can't get the volunteers to speak to me, would it also be okay to film and then do a voiceover?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can work with a voiceover, or if you wanted to send, we can also put idents on screen, so we can put information on the screen in English and Welsh if you've got bullet pointed sections. That does take a lot longer than speaking it, though. So bear in mind that if it would need to be bullet pointed, and we've only got sort of roughly 90 seconds to cover that. So you can send us some, if you've got sort of some key figures, I don't know, like the number of people that have accessed it, or I'm trying to think of some examples of other, Lucy, what would you be looking for in terms of sort of stats and figures or things to be included in the films?
Yeah, I would just say, any particular experiences or things of, how often people maybe can come to the site in a week, if there are people that sort of visit the site 2 or 3 times a week, or if it's just once a week, how many volunteers usually attend on visits. Does that vary? Are there people that are, you know, are there particular activities that you're focusing on at the moment to sort of improve the site or take things forward? But also maybe something about how you actually managed to gain access to the land and how long that took.
I will find people. I mean, I've got 3 weeks to do this.
Yeah.
So I would also say it's be really lovely to hear about people's experience and why they come to the project. And if that was ended up being sound bites or kind of indents, it could just be, you know, how it makes people feel, and just, you know, in terms of, you know, their reasons for coming and why the project's important to them. And that could be condensed quite simply down into bullet points if the sound, you know, the soundtrack wasn't possible in terms of that being delivered through an interview.
Okay.
Yeah, people could email you just to sort of send quotes in a sentence of the importance of attending of coming along and being a part of the project. I mean, we could work with that. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen a video actually of I think it was one of Katie's projects where some teenagers spoke, and you know, sometimes it might be tricky to film children on you know, in picture, and they just spoke, and that was really nice. It was a really nice addition to the video. They, you know, they were saying something like, "Oh, I like coming here once a week. You know, it breaks up my week because I do A, B, and C." You know, that was a really nice addition by having some younger people.
Yeah. Yeah, we can work with voiceover as well. So if you want to record it just with, you know, just the audio, headphones, make sure you're wearing headphones, because especially if it's the only audio. If there's no footage to go along with that and we're putting it to B-roll or whatever, then yeah, we can work with some audio as well.
Right.
Okay, so we're doing all right for time. I think we got a little we've got another 10-12 minutes. So if anyone wants to, has anyone got specific questions about their project or ideas of, you know, like maybe thinking about the establishing shot for your projects and what you might capture, or if you've got sort of what stock stuff you've already got in terms of photos or perhaps footage that's been shot previously. Yeah, has anyone got any thoughts or suggestions on that?
Nina.
Yeah, Nina, hi.
Well, I'm just wondering if we're to have any further input, or whether it lies in Mark's hands now. I'm not quite sure where we go. On the day, because our garden is sited at the end of a football pitch, and there was a match going on at the time, just coincided with the time we had decided to meet with him, with the filmmaker. So a lot of time was stop and start because of the sound. And most of his time really was just interviewing, just face to face like that, and people saying things.
Why don't you let me have a look at it?
Okay, you can say
this.
Yeah, I mean, there might be
Mark
things
sent
that,
it to me, isn't he? So I'll have a little look at it.
okay, there might be things that we should have said and didn't, and maybe we could just email.
You could do it as a voiceover at some point.
Well, that means filming with the voiceover.
And
I mean, a lot of it might end up being voiceover, perhaps, to the photographs that we sent in.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be very long either. So
yeah.
let me see what footage there is, and
we might need some
subtitles
or, you know, some footage about what the event was, if it's just a photograph and nobody's mentioned, say, the open day that we held. There's about 3 or 4 photographs I sent in of the open day.
Do we have phones?
And pardon?
Do we have phones?
I don't know. Could you send me your email, Lucy? Did we
Yeah.
speak once?
Yeah.
Speak once to you about it.
I'll just put it in the thing now, and I might sort of share the footage with Neil and see if they think it's all right.
Okay.
As well. But
what I was hoping, because I mean, he just sort of marched along he came and came to the garden for the appointed time, and before you enter the football field, there's like a mound, and we've got a big sign up saying fruit and nut, and then in Welsh, welcome. And it was only towards the end of the day. What are you doing?
I'm trying to show you the sign.
That's the sign.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Back to front. So I was hoping he would have noticed it maybe and taken a quick film as he entered the site. But I don't think he did. I think he just came directly to the garden, which is you walk all the way along the football field, which would have perhaps been a nice entrance, you know, starting at the sign and the mound that we've cleared of all the rubble and weeds and bramble, etc. And we've planted some bulbs and strawberries around the edge. So it's very different from how it used to be.
And will be even better in
Yes.
a couple of months.
Yes.
We should be. We're recording this bit, aren't we? Because this is really good for talking.
Yes.
This is exactly the sort of content that you want. Your passion for what you've done, and you can hear it coming across in the way you're describing it. So it's a really nice example of just be yourself and talk about the passion you have for your project.
I don't know if the football field bit got mentioned at all. I don't know what other people said, because we were all way out of the way really because of the sound. But that day we had like 12 people who spoke to camera, and whilst they weren't doing their bit, they were doing things on site, but all that unfortunately got missed. And like Judith, what's been happening, I mean, it's winter, but it's just a very small group that have been coming. We used to say every Saturday, but we're going to go now to, you know, the first Saturday of every month really, and hope that brings in more people. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just downloading it now. It's 1.1 gigabytes, which is, I suppose, quite big, isn't it? That so
12 people talking, and we had I don't know what they said, but we had, I think, 3 little kids at some point. They came and spoke. No idea what they said. It might have been, I mean, my granddaughter might have been commenting about the football match because she was so excited to see a real live football match going on. So I think they've just started doing it at school. So I've no idea what anybody said, to be honest.
That's the job of the editor.
Yeah, yes. So
I'll have a look at it and yeah,
we can do some pickup shots if you know, if there's something outstanding that you actually is a big gap, then tell us and I can do a pickup shot of some sort.
Martin has a film camera.
Like the sign.
What?
An SLR.
An SLR camera.
It'll take video. Your camera does video.
Well, anyway, we can do.
Yeah, great.
Shots.
Yeah, there's
and we're meeting on Saturday, so we'll, you know, hopefully there'll be a few people turn up to do some action shots.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to get some footage of the sign at the same time, that would be incredible, and then we know we've got it then.
Done that.
Yeah, all right.
I asked, but not for walking along the football field when the match was on.
Too late.
Well, there might be another match on Saturday.
90 seconds. We don't need
I
to.
know. Well.
Katie.
Yeah, I just want to say something about Iaith, the language. So really welcome, you know, people to speak in the language that they feel comfortable in, whether that's Welsh or in English, because Tape will be putting subtitles on. So that's just really important to reiterate. So croeso i siarad Cymraeg.
Yeah, so I did introduce the garden and its name. It's quite long. So I did that in Welsh. And we had one speaker, he's his first language Welsh, but he apparently just did half and half. And then my daughter, who's fully bilingual, but she just apparently just said one sentence and showed a map and said, I made this. Yeah, that's all she said, really.
That's great.
But that was just Welsh, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the footage coming in. It sounds excellent. Seeing the project as well, you know, the idea, it sounds like everyone's got some very different things. I love the idea of the gardens at the end of a football field as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very interesting site because our site used to be a tennis court. And I think I mentioned that. So the tennis court back in the 60s was great. And then it got neglected and it just became bramble and blackthorn and all that. So half the site is on a sort of tarmacy thing. And then the other half is a bit of rough field where we've got some of the trees. Yeah. Awesome, Grant. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing it. And yeah, it sounds like hopefully a lot of that, as Steve was saying, hopefully a lot of what you've just said is captured in what's coming over. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Yeah. I did have a couple of other thoughts that we need to mention, which would be, I was just thinking about if most folks are shooting with a phone, stability of the camera, to the idea of trying to keep it as steady as you can. Some of you might have, if you've got an SLR, the chances are you might have a tripod to go with that. So making sure you're using the tripod for shots, especially. If you haven't got a tripod, I can't do this very well on this camera. You can support the camera a little easier if you're holding it in your hands like that. If you bring your elbows in, then you can kind of create a human tripod. If you're holding it like that, then you'll keep it a lot steadier than if you're holding it with one hand, or if you kind of got it out with your arms stretched. If you keep your elbows in, you can kind of form a human tripod, and that will keep the camera as steady as you can. Worth mentioning. So,
do you just want to reiterate dates, Neil?
Yeah, so we're aiming to basically, as soon as you've got stuff shot and you've got bits complete, or if you've got archive footage or archive pictures, if you can start getting that over as soon as, so we can begin to compile it. Our closing date for getting in the footage is going to be the 18th of February. So we're trying to get all the footage in by the 18th, and the reason it's that early is that we have to get the edits done, get them back to Lucy and the team there so they can be transcribed and translated where needed, and then come back to us to add the subtitles in. So that's the reason why it might seem like our deadline is quite a long way off the actual award ceremony, whereas in fact we're working to a really tight deadline. So yeah, it's we need to be pretty strict on that, getting those bits in by the 18th, if that is okay with everyone. We are here if you've got questions. I'll stick my email in there as well, so you've got it. If you're getting stuck on anything, you can get in touch and let us know. We might not come back straight away, but we will come back and get you an answer as soon as we can. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, are there any other bits we want to cover in this session, or has anyone got any other questions at this point?
Can you all see the information we're typing in that chat on the side, normally on the right hand side of your screen? I've got my email address in there. Neil's just put his in there. So Nina, if you want to just drop me a quick email. I've had a very quick look at the start of the video. It's about 1 minute 22, so he has edited the footage down by the look of it, and he's got the Kilgarry fruit and net right at the start, so it's looking good. But if you drop me a quick email, then I'll come back to you with how we proceed. And
just, I don't think people who are watching on playback, they won't see what's in the chat.
Okay,
yeah.
I think I get a file of what's in the chat at the end of the at the end of the call, so I can put that in. I'll save that text document, and then but I think, yeah, we can also probably put all that into the crib sheet, can't we?
Yeah.
Everyone's emails and the important bits of info out of there.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Okay, we're at 5:30. I'm quite happy if anyone's got any other questions to stay on a little longer, but if we're there, then we've slick as you like, 1 hour exactly. So, yeah.
Really good.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing the footage come in. And if you get going and you've got questions, or you want to check anything out or send anything over to see if to see if you need to go and do a bit again or whatever you want to do, then yeah, you've got our contacts, and please get in touch. Really excited to see all the different projects, and yeah, thank you for taking the time out to come along and catch up about them.
Yeah, thank you, Neil and colleagues. Yeah, it's been really useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, everyone.
Thanks for
I'll stop
attending, everyone.
recording now.
Bye,
Good luck.
guys.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
good luck
Bye.
on your missions. Take care. Bye.